this property was part of the tree farm license. It was the privately owned, but publicly managed, right?
Yeah.
So it was owned by, and then
the
Western Forest
province
Products
just
took it out of
away
the
designation
TFL. They made this deal to cash out.
for nothing.
They had made all this profit.
Well, that's
over
what
the
I don't
years.
understand. How can they take it out of the TFL?
Yeah, I know.
Because this is, for
Yeah.
a long
Is it-
time they would have,
And
they had to keep things in the
Auditor
TFL. That was the
General
reason for setting up the TFL.
Right,
Confirmed,
yeah.
yes.
It's like a land
Clearly
trust.
against
It's a land trust.
It's like
and
the Forest Land
under
Reserve.
the Forest
Right.
Act, they were required to
Didn't change
actually
anything.
Yeah.
employ people
Yeah.
and to preserve and to
we used to
continue a
get,
forest
And all that was dismantled in the
control
late
public
90s.
first.
in the late 90s.
The
By the
Socreds,
NDP, believe it or not.
yeah, the Socreds
Uh-huh.
actually believed in preserving jobs.
Yeah.
The
The NDP
the
dismantled
Liberals
the connections.
and I guess the NDP at least to some extent too.
It used to be when you managed a tree farm license that you also operate the mills associated with it and the timber from your
appurtenancy.
Yes, that's what it's called, appurtenancy. Thank
Yeah,
you.
And they took that away.
They took that
And they
away.
used to have something called a profit of plunder, where they were able to go in and take something out, but they wouldn't really own the land. And now what's happening is they're able to buy it and own it, which is outrageous. There's so many things happening.
They've been
Evidence of
trying
the
to
old
get
growth of
more like closer to private ownership land over like style over public lands. But it's still public land.
So what will happen with these logs? Will they get shipped out?
It looks like they're getting shipped to Jordan River, to the log sort there. And from Jordan River, they are being shipped to, well, there's a mill. Cedar is going to a mill on the Fraser, on the mainland. And I think a lot of it is just from there going up to Nanaimo, actually, and being put on Chinese freighters. So we
well,
have
that was another thing in the Forest Act. They were not supposed to
do
export
log
raw
exports.
logs if there was a
Yes.
demand here. I mean, the whole
Yeah.
thing has been
It's all
turned
been,
upside down.
it's the wrecking crew.
It's a wrecking
And this
crew,
is what this
exactly.
is the end result of the wrecking crew. This and all the other clear cuts that we passed on the way.
And
If
who
we
is the
look on the
person
other
that
side of
owns
the road,
this now?
Yeah, there's
this
a
is
whole
a giant clear cut, and that's the Crown land still. That is all being logged by this new partnership with the Pachidat First Nation and non-native.
Did you notice the post on one of the sites from a Pachidat person saying we didn't know anything about this?
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's Arla. She used to be the chief.
Okay.
Until the once and future chief, I call
Yeah.
her.
But they weren't. They
So it
weren't
didn't necessarily have the support of the whole nation.
They don't consult at all.
Yeah.
You know, they have. We complain about our government. Their government is even worse, and they're so upset about it.
So is this Crown land?
This is not Crown land. This is Ender Ilkay's property.
Okay.
This was where he was going to build that giant resort development. So we're being told now, since you didn't let him have that giant resort development, now he's just got to clear cut it. And
Right.
that is so untrue. He
You
could
can't-
build at least one house on each of these lots. He could make his money back that way. He is not going to make his money back by logging. This is not valuable enough. There's a glut of timber on. You can't export logs for pulp and make money on it.
Yeah.
So is it just
Not
a temper
The cedar
tantrum?
is
He's
what-
just having. He's just trying to blackmail us.
Hissy fit.
Yeah, he's doing this scorched earth policy. He's got a phone number. Maybe we should just I should just post that and say, hey, give your opinion. He wants to hear from you.
Where
He's a
does he
friendly guy.
live? Where
He's
does
only
he
West
doing-
Vancouver.
Never an environmental assessment review done in this.
No, it's private land, and
Under
so
the
the
new
rules are
designation,
really,
it's-
really loose.
it's
Yeah,
not-
And the rules on raw logs are totally different with private land. too.
exactly. Yeah, and that's the other reason I think why they took it out of the TFL. They can do what they want.
So
Yeah.
it's
So
in the
originally s-
TFL where they have
No, it's
rules about exporting raw logs.
Yes.
And so then they're allowed to take it out of the TFL, and then they can do whatever they damn well
Yeah.
feel like. It isn't as though it was
They've just
originally
become
private land.
They've become realtors,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Strip it and flip it. That's Western Forest product.
So when, I know there's a lot of complex history around this, but when this land was taken out of a TFL, so the forest company bought it from the government, or
No, they had owned it originally, but they had put it into private management or public management in order to maximize their profits, I think. Because then if it's being publicly managed, they don't have to pay taxes on it. They don't have to build any roads on it. They can continue to log it. They can continue to make profit that way. But then they're not. It's not. It's. And they agree to certain restrictions, like the log export restrictions. And but they get to make more profit that way.
and the reasonable rotation of logging.
Yeah, all those restrictions on
Ah.
public land.
But I thought it was a part of the original deal when they got access to the public lands that they would have their private land have conditions on it too.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah, I've forgotten about that. When they put this land in the tree farm license, like back in
way back in
the
the
80s or something.
late 50s.
Late
I
50s
thought.
maybe, they also got more rights to log on more crown land elsewhere
Yeah.
in exchange. So again, so they got paid twice and then they cashed out, right? And then they started selling it as real estate.
And then the land was taken out of the TFL and back into total private state?
Yeah, they took it back and then it was sold to Ender Ilkay.
Right.
And this is the result of that.
And it was the forest company sold it to Ilkay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Western Forest Products.
And where are they based?
Western Forest Products?
I don't know. They're probably owned by somebody else.
Probably based in Vancouver, but I wouldn't swear to it.
Is it a Canadian corporation?
And this is
Sorry?
a
Is it a
provincial
Canadian
park.
corporation?
Yeah.
It starts
Who knows?
down
Yeah.
I mean,
below
it
this
might be at some
property
level,
here.
but
Right.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
you were asking earlier
most of
what
these companies
might be
are owned by
done.
somebody else.
Something
Right.
to address is that BC did
Like
sign
Tom's.
on to something called the
Tom's
Caracas
toothpaste?
Declaration
Right, I
about
know.
parks,
Yeah.
and that in this
Or
declaration,
Cascadian Farms
nothing should be
organic
done
vegetables.
adjacent to the
yeah.
park that is an industrial activity that would impact on the park.
How
Yeah.
far
And
is
it
BC
adjacent?
is
Bob's
bound.
Red Mill
Well,
did?
this
Well,
is
he's
right.
50
This is right
meters.
adjacent.
Right.
Couldn't be much
originally
more
a 50
adjacent to
meter
this,
required.
is it? Could it?
50 meters.
He had
from-
originally threatened to open a gravel mine on this property. You may remember he was going to put a gravel mine, and this was an actual threat that was made in the CRD during the public hearings about his resort. If I don't get my resort, I'm going to open a gravel mine. But he didn't own the mineral rights, and guess who owned the mineral rights as soon as he made that announcement? It was a friend of mine.
Yay! Wow.
And so then we acquired the mineral rights and said you can make a hole in the ground and take gravel out of it. You can't take it off your property without our permission.
Wow, that's awesome.
So he can't mine here. So that took care of that. So this is what he's doing instead. He's making good on his threat to do resource extraction. And he's just shooting himself in the foot, you know. This property maybe is worth what he paid for it, the millions of dollars and so on, with the forest intact. Without the forest, it's just a stump farm. And I don't see how he's going to make back his
Will he
investment.
be able to reapply then to build
He
something
probably
here?
will.
Yeah.
He probably will. He's allowed to build 1 or 2 houses on each lot. At this moment.
Isn't a cleared lot maybe more valuable than an uncleared lot for builders?
So he
The
is
thing
allowed.
is, he's
No,
got a
I've
bunch of
been-
lots already at Sheringham Point, right by the lighthouse. He's got a whole bunch of. He's got his big strata up there.
He does have approval for building lots here.
Oh yeah, this is
Oh, I see.
zoned. It's got the standard zoning, so he can't be subdivided, but he could build 1 or 2 houses
10-acre
on
lots,
each.
or-
There's it's not a choice between a massive resort and clear cut logging. It's a choice between are you gonna do what's permitted by the zoning, or are you gonna try and force something else
minor
through?
development.
Yeah, at least this is not illegal. Some of the stuff he's done in the past is that resort.
The Forest Act applied primarily to Crown land,
Right.
and
Well,
then people could really do whatever they wanted on their own land to private land,
Right.
converting it, which doesn't make any sense because
T-
these were
TFL.
grants to different logging companies, and then they can convert it.
Well, it all was native land at one time, right?
Yeah.
You know? How does it go from being native land to this? What's the process? It's
Well, it was not.
kind of ridiculous. This was once a beautiful... Yeah, no, I'll bet there's houses going in here. It's a beautiful view.
Well,
And like we were saying, Joan, the kids who are growing up right now, who are going to probably end up living here, they won't ever really know how
what
this
was,
happened
what
or
was.
what it
They'll
was,
probably
or
plant lawns here and
the,
take up the.
the scumbag who did it for them.
That's a good shot of the, look at with the camera to get
Mm.
the tree old growth.
These old stumps are
Yeah,
amazing.
well, there, that whole
hey?
area. That
yeah.
whole area is good. That's the advantage of it.
from the first round when they logged the old growth. That would have been back in the like 40s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these old stumps.
And what they did was just cream it, so they just took the best trees, the ones that are straight. And so they left everything else at that time, so in a way
Right.
that was a lot better. It wasn't clear cut, and
Right.
then things would grow back naturally. And then
Imagine how much labor it took, right, to build the notch into the tree and then stand in the notch and then get the saw and saw through the thing by hand, right?
this is what it looked like before.